tatta dhim tatakita dhim tadim tattam.
Hello there, welcome again, welcome to my channel. This is Padma, and on this channel I share with you the dance and philosophy from ancient goddess tradition from my culture, which is India. And in the past couple of weeks I have been sharing with you the practices of this beautiful deity Shiva, because Shiva is the focus deity of my group courses this term, so he's been very much in my body and in my consciousness. Not only that, if astrology resonates with you, these are meant to be the times of Shiva, because there are times when some of the energies that we had thought were very stable, very known, some things where we had invested our stability and our comfort, and where we had thought that nothing will change. Many of those things are, you can see, are all around you, are getting fragmented. Some of the daily ways in which we live, they are fragmented. So many things that we took for granted are now, they're not very organic anymore. And this is an energy of Shiva, this kind of dismantling, the churning, or what appears as chaos. But at the same time, Shiva has also got right within all of that churning this beautiful energy of regeneration, of something manifesting that comes from a space of a greater unity than is ever possible just with the things outside of us. And so much of the practice of Shiva is about that drawing of energy, consciousness, and bringing it back together to its intensity. So it's like a river being split into many streams. And when you split them up, it loses that force and energy. And in Shiva, he gathers up all of that. It's called the Samhara movement. And I spoke a little bit about this and shared a practice with you last week about this movement. So I will put a link to the practice from last week, and do check it out if you want a background to what we're going to do this week. So this movement of Samhara, gathering up our consciousness, which has been parceled out and fragmented out, looking for comfort, looking for love, looking for stability, looking for the truth. So he gathers it all up, and then he returns it to its source. So there's tremendous force, and then he grounds it, and that very return and grounding is also the manifestation. So it's not that like there is another process. So the minute that comes into the body's expression is always movement. And so there is immediately the manifestation of that movement or that way of being that is coming from that unified consciousness. And today I'm going to share with you a related practice, but it goes a little bit deeper into this movement of Shiva, this movement of consciousness. And it's called Bhujanga Trasita. It's a very ancient movement. And in fact, in the dance text, which is the 4,000-year-old dance text, it says that these movements, there are about 108 of them, they were actually directly revealed by Shiva himself. So they're not movements created from the mind, but they are revealed movements. And Bhujanga Trasita literally means recoiling from the snake. But you'll see that the name of the story just suggests a particular dynamic and energy of that movement, but the movement itself goes much beyond that. So this movement is the root of the iconic image of dancing Shiva. So I'm sure you've all seen the image of dancing Shiva with the leg lifted up. So this iconic dancing Shiva, which you can see everywhere around you. And this movement is the root of that particular movement of Shiva. So Bhujanga Trasita means you recoil from the snake. So it's like you're about to step on the snake, you're walking, you're about to step, and you recoil. So it's got this energy, lightning speed, and it's got a ferocity. So when you encounter a venomous snake, you don't have time to think, you don't have time to be in the past, in the future. it's a life or death moment. You are completely present. You are in the moment. And so it's this lightning recoil. And yes, it's quite unstable. Yes, and in that recoiling, you see there is this extension into space at the side. So it's not a recoil and a contraction, but it is a recoil that has this sudden spaciousness. So what this suggests about that, the way that Shiva brings consciousness back, or the invitation of the Shiva practice to bring consciousness back into the body, is not in an austere way. It's not in a way that has no sensation, that has no passion, that has no dynamism or intensity, not at all. On the contrary, it's like this dynamic and spacious movement. So in fact, from here, it opens up the space at the side of the body. So here's something of the philosophy to consider, what this movement suggests, because the movement comes before the philosophy. So Shiva's invitation is that the attachment, when we attach our consciousness, our attention, our sensations to things outside of us, it is not benign. And it's only when we can perceive that there is a venom in that attachment, and then we recoil from that. We recoil from attaching, from making our sensations and our consciousness instrumental, for making it always as a response to something, as a reaction to something, as a kind of buying into something. So there is something that is destructive in that for us. There is something destructive, and that is the suggestion of Shiva. So when we perceive that, so the Shiva mind, the Shiva consciousness is the perception that this way of fragmenting consciousness into little parcels dissipates it. It actually takes away all our energy, our passion, our presence. And when we realize that, just like recoiling from the snake, we recoil, we pull that consciousness back, but with intensity. So let's try this movement together. I showed it a few times, and with your arms, we'll also add the arms to it. So the arms move in a kind of a opposite spiral. So here we go. And yes, you retreat, and again. And then you feel that spiraling. I hope you can, it's almost addictive. I feel like I can keep going and going and going, because there's so much dynamism and flow and energy and vibrancy and vitality in that retreating, recoiling, or that movement of pulling out. But the pulling out doesn't mean that you disconnect. On the contrary, it means that you expand. It's as if it's the paralysis is in that attachment. And when you pull it's like pulling your foot out of the snake's mouth. When you pull it out, you get this incredible movement. The space opens up beside you, and the spiraling. You can even try to spiral that movement when you do it once, and spiral that movement. And so you can see where that movement leads you. There's so much possibility in that movement, because its very instability means that there is momentum. it's like it holds so much potential for momentum. Whereas our linear one-to-one attachment to specific stories that we already know. So Shiva suggests that that's the paralysis. And it's not a benign paralysis. It's like you are trusting a venomous snake. And so when you can free yourself of those kind of parceling attachments, then you find other spaces open up beside your body, spiraling around, different movements open up and different perceptions open up. So I hope that in these times where so much of what we know is crumbling around us, so much of what we have held as permanent for long periods, taken for granted. And when these things are falling away, it is an opportunity. That is the Shiva moment. It's always also immediately an opportunity opens up for us to discover a different movement in reality, a different way of experiencing. And that starts with a different way of experiencing sensation, movement, dynamism, presence in our own bodies. And through that, we have a different perception of the reality around us. So thank you so much. This is one of my favorite practices of Shiva. I hope you will enjoy this practice, and I hope that you will find some beautiful ways of spiraling, opening up movements, and might find yourself sometimes in the cosmic Shiva movement at times too. Thank you again. I love your company, and I enjoy the feedback that you share, and I look forward to your company on this channel next week.